How will US President-elect Donald Trump's leadership affect developing countries, specifically in the areas of trade and investment? Let's have a look. I'm joined by Shiran Fernando, lead economist at Frontier Research. We're going to be talking about Trump. Shiran, that victory of Donald Trump, definitely not what the pundits predicted, not even in Sri Lanka. What does this mean for countries like Sri Lanka, developing countries, specifically in the area of investment and trade?
I think the election as a whole is a good message to governments all over the world that post the global financial crisis, you have not actually seen a lot of wealth being created. So you've seen booms in financial markets, people doing quite well. For example, with Brexit, it was a London versus the rest kind of vote. And you're seeing something, if you look at the trends in the US election as well, of those who have done better in financial markets or those who are more educated, knowing that or voting more towards the opposing candidate, and others who shared this message of what Trump had, believing in him and believing in that the change was sort of required. So I think the message is quite clear in that sense. And what investments all over the world, or investments in Sri Lanka or things like that, should actually focus is on wealth creation, on job creation, because the people always will have the power to vote in and vote out governments. And you consistently need to have your economic policies geared towards creating this wealth without, increasing the income disparity.
Sharon, one of the things we saw at this election was that the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, was a major feature of on both campaign stages, from Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, and then it spilled over into Hillary Clinton's campaign as well. Now, the TPP with Trump's election, he's promised not to sign it. He's promised not to move forward on TPP. What does this mean for Sri Lanka as a trading nation, Sri Lanka's prospects, and also prospects for any trade agreement with the United States of America?
So I think one thing that will be quite important is to how Trump will transition from campaign mode to presidential mode, and whether the things that he said in terms of taking out NAFTA or relooking at it, or taking out the TPP, whether he'll actually, as President Trump, will he actually look into this. So I think that transition is very important. So before jumping the gun and analyzing a lot of what he said, we'll need to look at it. But I think the message is clear in terms of America, that they want to sort of bring back manufacturing back to US. So that's sort of puts a bit of concern. So I think more than the trade deals and things like that, and the concern over that, I think his attitude or his management of China, for example, will be more critical, because if, for example, he labels them as a currency manipulator or accuses them of other things that he has previously said in the campaign as president, then it will have a lot of impact in terms of demand and sentiment, and that could have a pass-through impact on Sri Lanka, because if the demand from China goods sort of reduce, and that is because of weakening demand from the US or things like that, so from those policies, then Sri Lankan exports will be weak, because you can't because our exports are so our export products are limited to certain markets. We can't afford to have more demand drops. But I think the other agreements that we are looking at in terms of India, in terms of Singapore, Turkey, I think we sort of have to surge on with that while monitoring TPP in the background as well.
Something that has been constantly said by political commentators in the United States about Trump is that there isn't any real policy consistency in his message. Trump has taken, as the comedians put it, literally every stand possible on every issue possible. So, given that, do you think we see any real change in the US's economic and trade policies?
So I think what will be critical is, for example, the Republican has the control of the House as well as the Senate, as well as you have Republican president. So whether the Republicans actually in the Senate and Congress will be for him, because in the campaign you saw a lot of people not being for him or even endorsing him. So if you were to see all of them in the same line, then you could see some sort of concrete change. But I don't think as the president alone he'll be able to do a lot of change, because that's what a lot of people expected from Obama as well. And though he was able to deliver on a lot of things, because of where the Congress and Senate stood, he was not able to pass a lot of things. So it shows even Obama, with this whole message of change, was not able to get a lot of things that maybe could have been done with the help of the Senate and Congress done. So there I think lies where the balance of power will head towards. But I think there will be incremental changes, and markets will react based on what he says in the next few days and how the transition goes on. And I think that will give you a more sense of where he stands on certain topics rather than what he said on the campaign, because I think fundamentally I'm expecting both to be a bit different from campaign.
Thank you very much, Shiran. So at the end of the day, the message is, it's Trump. You never really know what he might do next. 8 years ago, no one really thought that he would be President of the United States of America, but here he is, President-elect. What will he do? Will Trump the President be any different from Trump the reality TV star, or Trump the presidential candidate, or Trump the successful businessman?